Hi there, I'm Melanie Carr, medical intuitive life mentor. And this is just a very quick discussion on what happens when we take our spirituality, our ideas about high vibrational manifestation, and we lose perspective on all of the integral parts that we have in our body, our connection with the universe, our connection with the earth, our connection with our past, our psychology, our inner child work, and how our mental body, our mind, how the energy of our mind, the energy of our heart center, the energy of our emotional body needs to all come together in balance in order for us to be able to have a very integral spiritual awakening. In the process of spiritual awakening, we go through emotional situations, we go through high vibrational connection, Kundalini awakening, heart center opening. We go through a lot of different energetic experiences. And on this path, sometimes we get super focused on meditation, yoga, and doing high vibrational energy practices. And we believe that if we just focus on keeping our mindset positive and having this high vibrational energy, we'll be able to get past our traumas, our emotional issues, our inner child parts of our being. And sometimes, instead of putting it all into balance as an integral part of spirituality, we separate out and we go for a very masculine, high vibrational God energy connection. And this is all great until something triggers us in our lives, and all of a sudden we go into an emotional body experience, and then we stop and we say, I need to meditate. And if we thought we were doing really well on our spiritual path, it can be really devastating. It can really hurt, and it can really knock down our confidence in ourselves. So on this process, as you go through this, you're meditating or you're working through spiritual practices, you're practicing the power of now, you're working with Joe Dispenza on his high vibrational life and energy experiences. What happens and what can you do if all of a sudden life gives you a harsh kick in the ass and all of a sudden you find yourself in a world of dealing with your triggers? So the triggers come up for a reason because we need to acknowledge and we need to do the inner child healing, or you can call it the emotional body healing, or there's so many different psychology practices that are so very valuable. But I also believe there's a lot of people that also go off balance in the other side, and they go into studying systems of psychology, and they don't get themselves the true opportunity to also have that ability to connect with self on a high vibrational frequency. And if we practice those high vibrational connections through meditation practices, through hypnosis, there's just so many different ways we can approach this. If we have the situation out of balance and we've gone really far into the high vibe yoga community, or we've gone really deep into the mental body mindset of psychological practices and psychology. I don't know why that word's tripping me up today, but anyways, be what it is. I started working through some interesting practices of acknowledging and becoming more aware and more conscious of some of the hurt parts and some of the emotional detonators that were coming up for me in my life, and found it very valuable to remember that we need to be able to balance back and forth through our masculine energy and our high vibrational spirituality, our feminine energy and our earthy, connected, creative energy in our bodies. We need to be able to modulate through the high vibrational energy of the connection in a fourth and fifth dimension, in connecting with higher self. And at the same time, don't forget to acknowledge the mental body and its processes, and the emotional body and its processes, and the place it has in our life. Those filters, triggers, parts, emotional parts, it depends on what you're studying and how you're applying in your life the practices of the mind and the emotions, have a really important part in our spiritual process, as does the high vibrational energy practices. But I think a lot of people forget sometimes. You start to go towards the high vibe and the wonderful feelings, and then you totally forget and abandon the parts of yourself that you haven't healed yet. And if there are parts of you that are still detonating emotional triggers inside yourself, for example, today I was working with my staff here at the hotel, and someone said to me, you can let me do this part on my own. I don't need you interfering and coming after me for every little thing. Why don't you go do your stuff? And it really hurt me. I thought, wow, that wasn't my intention. I saw, a situation where maybe the person could get hurt. They were doing something a little dangerous. They were climbing up a ladder by themselves. And I looked at the situation and I said, okay, well, this person wants their space. So I took myself off and I closed my eyes, and I found that inside myself I felt very hurt and very rejected. And I thought, well, this is very interesting. Let's analyze this, because my normal reaction would be to go and do a meditation, to put my masculine and feminine energy in balance and to connect with higher self. And I said, well, hang on. There's a part of me that is calling and saying, I feel really hurt. And I thought, well, that's ridiculous. It's nothing to be feeling hurt about. What's going on inside myself? What part of myself is asking me to acknowledge something there? And then I went in a little deeper to that emotional part and saw the part of myself as a child where I wanted to do things together with other people. And the other children were not of my age. So if I was 5 years old, they were 7 or 8, or they were three or 4, and there was just no age compatibility. So I found myself in childhood often doing things on my own and feeling very lonely and very rejected or abandoned by other people. And I stopped and I asked that part of myself, how old do you think I am? And I saw a very young child living inside myself. And I remembered also what Dr. Richard Schwartz is teaching in the internal family systems, which is a very interesting psychology information for people to analyze their emotions. And yet it's very interesting because it really recommends a high connection with the self, which is, our higher self, where we can look at it as a spiritual practice that's combined with psychology, and it's very valuable. And I think so many times psychology leaves out the spiritual side of things, and the spiritual side of practices leave out the psychology. And I also believe that a lot of times in our energy, we leave out the creative female erotic sexual energy, or we leave out the high energy masculine. Why not bring those beautiful energies together? And this is where all the integral systems have to come together. Our heart center has to be open. Our emotional body has to be, receiving the love and support that it needs. Our higher self needs to be connected to the universe, and our self needs to be connected to our higher self. And it's not a question of killing yourself doing 100,000 different exercises and practices. It's a realization that we have an emotional body, and we have the neuroscientist part of it as well. The protector part of the part of the mind that is the animal part that keeps us safe and keeps us from dying. And that part is just as important, but it's also just as important as our heart center and the connection our heart center has with the synchronicity, and it's just as important. It's just as important when the little dog gets freaked out too, because there's another animal outside. It's a very good example of our emotional body. Doggo, I'm doing a video, come on. So he comes into the video to give us a good example of what happens when we're triggered in our emotional body, and all of a sudden we're going wow, wow, wow. But that's what happens to even people that have been studying spiritual practices for a very long time. And when that happens, we need to take that time to even analyze and work with our emotional self, and not just expect that we're always going to be this perfect high vibrational spiritual person, because our path is learning to bring into balance every part of ourselves. And I just want to give this as a quick reminder to everyone to understand yourself, give yourself that loving support. If there's a part of yourself, even if you are on a spiritual journey, if there's a part of yourself that comes up that seems very unspiritual, instead of pushing it away or just saying, I need to meditate or I need to change to a positive mindset, why not take a moment to really acknowledge and ask that part of yourself, what are you doing to protect me and what is happening here? And if you want more information, you can check out Internal Family Systems. It's great. The book There Are No Bad Parts by Dr. Richard Schwartz is absolutely amazing. And I highly recommend keeping all of these parts in balance. Your spiritual part, your heart, your heart-center connection open, and your emotional body supported, not just ignored, pushed away. And sometimes on a spiritual journey, we become really critical of ourselves. And I think that's a very big mistake that even I'm learning as I go through life. So this is a quick video. Have fun and consider this the next time you feel horribly triggered by something or someone, and maybe even practice it before you get triggered in a really bad way. Practice it with something small like I did today. I really found value in doing this in this exercise and taking a look, because I realized there was a small part of myself that still lives inside me that was maybe 5 or 6 years old that said, I want to play, I want to work together, I want to do things with people, and there was no people there to do them with. So I asked myself now at 50 years old, do I need people to be there with me at every step of the way, or can I allow myself to do my things today and let my team do their work? And it's so much better. Have a great day and good luck with it.